So as we're dealing with let's go back here. The cost flow method that parallels the actual physical flow of merchandise. Normally the products that first came in are the ones we're going to first sell. The cost flow method that follows it is going to be FIFO. What's first in is the first to leave. First in, first out, FIFO. In a period of inflation, the cost flow method that results in the lowest income taxes is LIFO, because that's going to show that we're selling the more expensive units, which ultimately lowers our net income, which ultimately lowers our tax liability. Okay. Inventory flow methods consistently. One thing that is required for generally accepted accounting principles is that once you choose a method of cost flow, you have to keep it. And that's for the assumption or the guideline of consistency. We want, and comparability, we want our financial statements to be able to be compared within the years, from year to year. So you can't go from FIFO and then the next year to go to LIFO. It's going to distort the financial statements. So if you do change your system, you have to provide notes and you have to explain why that is important for you to do, how that is better suited to meet the true needs of the company. Although consistency is preferred, a company may change its inventory costing methods. Generally speaking, it's frowned upon without a good reason behind it. Lower of cost or market. When the value of the inventory is lower than its cost, what happens at that time is companies need to write down the inventory to the true market value. So the market value is going to be lower than the cost. At that time, they need to write it down. An example of this may be, let's say there is a product with old packaging. Okay? I'm just trying to think of an example. And they've already started manufacturing certain, perfumes with the new packaging. Because that new packaging is in and has become the norm, a lot of times that old packaging gets written down because it's outdated. And so at that time, you either have to take the cost or what the market value is, whichever is less. Can anyone think of, oh, I know an example. What happens with videos now? Do many people watch videos anymore? They've lost their appeal, haven't they? Why? Streaming is bigger. Those of us that can't stream, like me, because I live out in the boonies and can't get decent internet, I am DVDs. I only do the Blu-ray DVDs now. Do you get what I'm saying? How some things become outdated with time? And so what the company may have purchased those videos for, or the old DVDs for, aren't really worth that anymore. So they've got to write it down to either the cost or what the true value is now. So when we're dealing with lower of cost or market, assume that Kentucky TV has the following lines of merchandise with costs and market values as indicated. The flat panel TVs cost $60, but the market value right now is $55. The satellite radios, they bought them for $45, but the market value is $52. DVD recorders bought for $48, the market value is at $45. DVDs cost $15, the market value is at $14. Lower of cost or market basically means we're required to show the lowest of either cost or the lowest of market. What's going to happen in this example is we're going to reduce our flat panels TVs by $5,000. We're going to reduce our DVD recorders by $3,000 and our DVDs by $1,000. Do you see how that plays out, guys? High inventory levels cost money. Low inventory levels mean sometimes you won't get a sale because they're going to go somewhere else. There's a true balance, and you're going to learn about this in the next class. You take managerial accounting. Those of you, how many of you have to take managerial accounting? Okay. In managerial accounting, we focus on decisions management makes in regards to producing that right product mix. Inventory is a really critical piece here because if you have too much inventory, the chances of it becoming obsolete is great, and you're spending a lot of money keeping that inventory sitting on your shelves. But on the other hand, if you don't have any inventory, you're not going to have any sales, are you? So there's a real fine line to determine what the good mix is with having inventory and being able to sell the products. Inventory turnover. This is the rate within a year, how many times the inventory gets turned over. So basically, if you take a division of the cost of goods divided by that average inventory that's sitting on your shelves, you can determine that turnover ratio. It's always better to have a higher ratio than a lower ratio, but it's going to vary between industry sectors.
Can you go back real quick?
Sure.
What's it mean, average inventory?
The average inventory that's sitting on the shelf. So let's say at one hand you have $12,000 of inventory on hand. The next month you have $13,000 on hand. The next month $16,000 on hand. You're going to take that and weight it to determine how much is on hand throughout the period, the average, and you'll divide that to see how often your inventory turns over. One thing that's interesting here, if you do a little Google on this, and you Google like Apple computer inventory turnover ratios, inventory turnover, turnover ratios. Inventory turnover in 2013 was 97, which basically means inventory turned over every 3.5 days. Inventory here turned over roughly every 2 days. Do you see in 2010 inventory was at 62, so that turned over roughly every 6 days? That's amazing.
How do you know days by that?
Well, because 96 means if I took 365 and divided it, I would get an idea of this is how many times in a year inventory turned over. Guys, that's amazing. So look in 2012. What happened in 2012 and 2011? New technology. You couldn't, guys, I was on a wait list to get the iPhone 5. Do you know what I'm saying? My daughter who lives in Miami, they couldn't even keep iPads in the stores. Isn't that crazy? Now let's look at another company. What's another company we can, Dell, inventory turnover. Turnover, 32, 31, 30, Still pretty decent, isn't it? Roughly every 10 and 11 days. Quite amazing. They're producing it as they need it, right? What's another one we can do? How about GM turnover ratio? Now, GM's going to be different though, isn't it, guys? Asset turnover? No, I want inventory turnover. You guys see inventory turnover here? Here, inventory, General Motors, inventory turnover. Inventory turnover, 9.3 in a year. The inventory gets turned over 9 times, which is about, say, 38 days. Well, what kind of asset are we dealing with? It's very different than a computer or an iPhone, isn't it? Make sense? What do you think Boeing's turnover is? Who wants to guess? 1.7, 1.8. Who guessed 2? My goodness. That's amazing. So do you see how it really depends on what the inventory is as to how it's going to turn over? Is it almost 9:30? Yeah. So guys, what I want you to do this weekend is take some time, go through some problems. We're going to complete the problems on Tuesday and start with the next chapter on Thursday. And we'll start the quiz Tuesday night. Everyone okay? Have a good weekend.